Welcome to Wickedly Judged, the podcast dedicated to exposing wrongful convictions and demanding justice reform in America's criminal legal system. I'm Rebecca, your host, and today we face two realities that tell one truth about where we are as a nation. First, political violence took the life of Charlie Kirk, a man whose voice was anchored in his belief in our founding fathers, the Constitution, and his faith in God. Second, our courtrooms keep producing wrongful convictions, while some of these people responsible collect promotions, prestige, and power. I never met Charlie, but I believe we were fighting for the same thing, a country that truly lives by the Constitution, that honors the presumption of innocence, and that rejects the idea that titles, money, or ambition gives anyone the right to destroy lives. If you're weary and angry, you're not alone. Today we'll name what's broken, show how it works, and chart how we fix it together. When a public figure is killed for what he believes, that's not just a tragedy. It's a bell tolling for the civic soul. It tells us that debate is being replaced by dehumanization. It says some have decided that a bullet is faster than persuasion, and intimidation more satisfying than the truth. Inside courtrooms, a parallel story unfolds. People are processed as case numbers. The accused become props in someone else's career narrative. Too often, wrongful convictions are not mere mistakes. They are outcomes manufactured by warped incentives. And when those outcomes lead to promotions, chiefs, senior prosecutors, bench appointments, what message are we really sending? That securing convictions, even tainted ones, is the path to power. That the scoreboard matters more than the soul of justice. These are not separate moral failures. Political violence and legal injustice grow from the same soil. Contempt for the image of God in the other. Contempt for the limits the Constitution places on power. And contempt for the slow discipline of truth. How have we drifted so far as a nation that the incentives reward injustice? The metric problem is clearance rates, conviction rates, and headline-grabbing wins become performance reviews. When the scoreboard decides careers, you don't just chase the truth, you chase numbers. And numbers don't cry when they're wrong, but the families do. When someone gets promotion on the back of someone else being railroaded, rising through the ranks can hinge on being what we call tough on crime, even when toughness means tunnel vision. Prosecutors with a string of high-profile convictions get senior roles. Detectives who close difficult cases get medals and commendations. Some judges even build their reputations on speed and not scrutiny. These incentives, left unchecked, pay bonuses to confirmation bias. Then you have the myth of infallibility. Systems defend themselves. Admitting errors threatens reputations and trajectories. So a wrongful conviction becomes a public relations problem to manage instead of a moral emergency to correct. Starving the defense, but still feeding the machine. Public defenders carry crushing caseloads without investigators or expert budgets. Meanwhile, though, prosecution and police budgets get expanded. Unequal adversaries don't make fair fights. They make foregone conclusions. The outrage economy. Media ecosystems monetize anger. Politicians fundraise off of fear. The public is trained to demand immediate villains. Due process, with its careful tests and rights, feels soft to the outraged. This is how we trade liberty for the illusion of security. Charlie believed in first principles, natural rights, limited government, the Constitution's designed to restrain power. And he spoke openly about his faith in God as the anchor for human dignity. Whether you agreed with every stance or not, he was a voice arguing that the rule of law and the moral law matter. His assassination is a line crossed, a message that belief itself can be grounds for elimination. When we allow violence to settle arguments, we mock the founder's vision that words, votes, and lawful processes are how free people resolve conflicts. The same vision animates criminal due process. Innocent until proven guilty. The right to counsel. The demand for proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If we abandon those protections because we want swift punishment, career momentum, or a clean narrative, we betray both the Constitution and the God-given dignity of the accused. So how do wrongful convictions happen? And who actually gets rewarded? Well, let's walk the assembly line. You have the pressure cooker, which is when a serious crime, like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, shocks a community. The leaders promise quick results. Detectives are told to close the case by any means necessary. Prosecutors feel the cameras and the pressure from the media. And it's in that pressure the question subtly shifts from what's true to what can we prove. Then, when an arrest is made, the spotlight hits. Commendations are given, press conferences, pats on the back, great police work. But is the person really guilty? Then you have coerced or uninformed pleas. Defendants tend to sit in pretrial detention because they can't afford bail. They're told, plead now to 5 years or risk 50 if you go to trial. Oddly enough, I know this happens because it happened to my son. He was told to take a plea deal for a crime he didn't commit. You'll only do 2 years. If you take this to trial, you're looking at a minimum of 10 years to life. So what is he supposed to do? Like other people, many plead to crimes that they didn't commit just to regain a piece of their life. The dockets move on. Conviction stat rise. Promotions follow. Congratulations, the community's a safer place. But is it really? And let's not forget junk science and shaky experts. There are so many unreliable methods out there that are still being used, like pattern matching without proper validation, suggestive arson indicators that have since been debunked, bite mark testimony that has been ruled unreliable. These are all presented with the gloss of certainty that this person did it. So a guilty verdict lands. The win is logged. The expert keeps getting called on for case after case. His career advances. Congratulations. Innocent people are behind bars. You have witness contamination and suggestive ID lineups that are run by officers who know the suspect. They give leading instructions to the person on how to identify them. Their memory is shaped by suggestion. And once a confident ID is on record, the narrative hardens. Another box checked, another commendation, and my favorite, Brady violations and tunnel vision. Exculpatory evidence is minimized, buried, or rationalized away. I know this happens because it happened in my husband's case. Somebody else confessed during interrogation to the crime, asked how much time he was facing, what's going to happen to him when he goes to court, and the detectives told him to stop talking and he will leave. Was that evidence presented at trial? No, it was not. The prosecutor buried it. Why? Because it would have proved reasonable doubt, and that didn't fit their narrative. And let's not forget informants, or as we like to call them, jailhouse snitches, that are incentivized with deals, less time. Alternate suspects are completely ignored because it doesn't fit the narrative. The case becomes a story to defend, but you can't even defend yourself because the evidence wasn't presented. Trial victory becomes another bullet on your resume. And of course, we have one of my favorites, oversight without teeth. Internal reviews are internal for a reason. Civilian boards lack subpoena power. Conviction integrity units, when not truly independent, cannot be trusted to investigate their own chain of command. The outcome? Oh, lessons learned. Let's issue a memo. And that same person keeps climbing up the ranks. Promotion after promotion. Every stage of this offers opportunities for courage to slow down, disclose, challenge, and even correct. Every stage also tempts with shortcuts that get rewarded. That is the moral test that is in front of us. So what exactly is the human cost of wrongful convictions? Empty chairs and stolen years. I've sat with families who mark time in appeals. I've read transcripts where the truth is right there and it peeks out in the margins, but it gets completely ignored. I've watched officials circle wagons while the innocent age in cells. Wrongful conviction is not a paperwork error. It's years of someone's life that they'll never get back. Birthdays that are uncelebrated. Kids growing up without a parent. Elders dying without a goodbye. Meanwhile, you have someone else that's promoted for closing that case. Congratulations on your conviction. That's not just a broken system. Guys, this is a broken moral compass. So how do we bridge these two crises? Violence, ambition, and the death of our due process. Political assassination and wrongful convictions both say that the ends justify the means. One uses a weapon, the other uses a courtroom, but both bypass the slow protection of rights. Both treat people as if they are obstacles in the way of a promotion. Both of them are forms of contempt for the Constitution's guardrails. A constitutional republic is an exercise in restraint. It limits government because power is prone to abuse. It sets burdens of proof because error is costly. It protects speech because violence is worse than being offended. If we want a country worthy of our children, we must relearn restraint, especially when we hold a position of power, especially when we are sure that we are right. So here's my restoration agenda: how we can use policy and culture and personal action to create policy reforms. We need independent review with teeth. Make conviction integrity units structurally independent from the original prosecution team, with outside oversight, in full transparency, and with the authority to reopen and vacate if necessary. Equalize the courtroom funds for public defense to parity. Caseload caps, investigators, experts, training, all of it. It needs to be equal between the defense and the prosecution. Justice should not be a contest of who has the bigger wallet. End this junk science crap. Adopt rigorous admissibility standards. Require independent accreditation of labs. Mandate blind proficiency testing. record, and disclose error rates. That's how you hold people accountable. We need eyewitness reform. We need to require double-blind lineups, standardized instructions that are given beforehand, not while you're standing there looking at potential suspects. Confidence statements and should be recorded at first ID, and full video of all procedures. Not some, not once in a while, all the time. Because video don't lie unless it's tampered with. We need to enforce Brady like it matters. Create enforceable sanctions for willful suppression of exculpatory evidence. The prosecutors know what they're doing. They need to be held accountable. Tie promotions to compliance with disclosure obligations, not just conviction counts. We need to have transparent promotions. Decouple career advancement from raw conviction rates. Include exonerations, reviews, disclosure compliance, and community outcomes in these evaluations. Publish disaggregated data on pleas, trial outcomes, discovery violations, expert use, and post-conviction reversals. What we measure, we should manage. Here's how we can do a cultural reset. Dignity first. Speak about the accused as human beings. Reject labels that erase humanity in certain situations. If leaders won't model this, then we must. Slow language down. Reward careful speech. In media and in politics, trade the hot takes for verified facts. The temperature tends to drop when the timeline lengthens. Faith and conscience in public. Morality isn't a partisan. A shared belief in human dignity, grounded for many in their faith in God, keeps our disagreements within humane boundaries. Now, what are some personal steps that you can take? Serve on juries with humility. Ask the hard questions. Demand proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And if doubt still remains, vote not guilty. Support innocence work and families. Donate, volunteer, and amplify cases. Do practical help like rides or childcare during hearings. Write letters. All of this holds people together as a community. Vote where it counts. Your district attorneys, your sheriffs, your judges. Learn their records on disclosure, plea practices, and post-conviction relief. Reward integrity, not rhetoric. Document and demand if you're inside the system and you see wrongdoing. Document it. Find counsel. Whistleblowers can save lives. De-escalate things in your own circle. Challenge dehumanizing language online, at work, or even at the dinner table. It really matters more than you think. I didn't choose this work because it's tidy. It's not. It's very messy. I chose it because my own family was broken by a wrongful conviction. And because I still believe America can be what it says it is. To Charlie Kirk's family and to every family living with an empty chair, we see you. We honor your courage. We will keep insisting on a country where beliefs are debated, not killed for, where accusations are tested, not rubber stamped, and where promotions are earned by integrity, not by numbers pinned to other people's pain. If this episode moved you at all, don't let it stop at emotion. Write your DA. Ask what metrics determine promotions, and demand disclosure compliance be one of them. Support organizations that fight wrongful convictions. Mentor a public defender. Share this episode with someone who thinks that the system rarely gets it wrong, because honestly, the system gets it wrong more times than not. Invite them into a better conversation, one that is grounded in facts, faith, and the Constitution. Because at the end of the day, I love my country, and I want it to still be here. At Wickedly Judged, we are actively working cases back into court. If you have documents, leads, or expert testimony that can make truth visible, email us at wickedlyjudged@gmail.com. And if you're like millions of Americans today still grieving Charlie's death or any loss to violence, you're not alone here. We're fighting for the same thing, a nation that returns to its first principles, God-given rights, the Constitution's constraints, and a justice system that refuses to destroy lives for promotion, power, or money. Thank you for joining us today on this episode. Follow us, share this message to help reach other people, and don't forget, our next episode drops every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to give a shout out to Veterans Alliance for their continued support of and sponsorship of our podcast, and to JP Verse of Versifier Records for our intro and outro music. Without you guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. Until next time, seek truth, protect dignity, and never accept a system that punishes innocence, because nobody deserves to be wickedly judged.